A millionaire businessman was discreetly visiting one of his stores without imagining that his life would change that day. There, he met a poor girl who, with a single coin, asked to buy a family. His heart filled with shock and compassion, he decided to intervene and discovered the true value of love. At that moment, he understood that the one thing he could never buy was precisely what she needed most: the choice to be loved and to love back. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The Seattle rain pattered against the windows of Cascade Fresh Market, creating a rhythmic backdrop to Matthew. Reynolds' inspection. At 42, Matthew had built Cascade Fresh from a single corner store into Seattle's most successful upscale grocery chain. Today's surprise visit to his flagship downtown location was routine. He believed in seeing operations firsthand, not just reading reports. "Mr. Reynolds, we weren't expecting you today," the manager stammered, smoothing his already impeccable tie. Matthew offered a reassuring smile. "That's the point of surprise visits, Carl." His keen eyes scanned the pristine aisles, noting the artful produce displays and the efficient movement of employees. Everything appeared to be running according to the exacting standards he'd established. He moved discreetly to a corner near the customer service desk, observing shoppers as they navigated the store. Wealthy professionals grabbed quick lunches from the organic deli, tourists marveled at the local seafood selection, and regulars chatted with employees who knew them by name. This was the community he'd crafted: upscale, comfortable, and profitable. The automatic doors slid open, and Matthew's attention shifted to a small, unexpected figure. A little girl no more than 6 or 7 stepped hesitantly into the store. Her appearance stood in stark contrast to the polished environment. Her clothes were worn and dirty, her sneakers had holes, and her dark hair was tangled. She clutched something tightly in her small fist. Matthew watched as she approached the customer service desk, standing on tiptoes to see over the counter. The representative leaned forward with a practiced smile that faltered slightly at the girl's appearance. "Can I help you, sweetie?" the woman asked. The girl extended her hand, uncurling her fingers to reveal a single coin, a quarter that gleamed under the store lights. "I want to buy a family," she said, her voice clear and determined despite its softness. The representative blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" "A family," the girl repeated, pushing the quarter forward. "My family is broken, I need a new one." A bewildered silence fell. The representative glanced around, seeking help, and locked eyes with Matthew. He approached slowly, crouching to the girl's level. "Hi there," he said gently. "My name's Matthew. I own this store. What's your name?" "Lily," she replied, studying him with serious blue eyes. "Lily Stevens. It's nice to meet you, Lily. Can you tell me more about why you want to buy a family?" Lily's small shoulders straightened. "My mom is really sick. She can't get up or go to work. She's hot and talks funny sometimes. Dad left a long time ago." She held up the quarter again. "I found this. I thought maybe I could buy someone to help us. Someone who won't leave." Matthew felt something shift inside him, a sensation he couldn't immediately identify. Around them, customers and employees had paused, witnessing the exchange. "Where's your mum now, Lily?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. "At home. It's not far. I walked here by myself." Matthew glanced at his watch. A board meeting in 2 hours, dinner with investors at 7. His assistant would be calling soon, wondering where he was, yet something about this child's desperate solution to an adult problem held him in place. "Would you like me to come check on your mum?" The words left his mouth before he'd fully processed them. Lily's eyes widened. "Can you fix broken families?" "I don't know," Matthew answered honestly, "but I might be able to help your mom feel better." He straightened, turning to Carl. "I'll be out for a while. Reschedule today's meetings." Carl looked startled. "All of them?" "But sir, the quarterly presentation—" "All of them," Matthew confirmed, already pulling out his phone to text his assistant. Lily slipped her small hand into his as they exited the store. She led him away from the gleaming high-rises and toward the shadows of the city that tourists never saw. They walked several blocks, the neighborhood growing progressively shabbier. Matthew had lived in Seattle for decades, but realized he'd never truly seen these streets, the forgotten corners of a city celebrated for its innovation and wealth. His phone buzzed repeatedly. Alexandra Reed, his chief operating officer and oldest friend, was calling for the third time. He silenced the device, ignoring the mounting anxiety about what his board would say. "It's here," Lily said, stopping before a dilapidated apartment building. The structure had once been respectable, but now sagged with neglect, peeling paint, cracked windows, and a front door that didn't quite close. They climbed 3 flights of stairs, the hallway permeated with smells of mildew and cheap cooking. Lily stopped at apartment 3C, pushing against a door with a broken lock. The single room inside made Matthew freeze. He'd seen poverty in documentaries and charity campaigns, but never like this. Immediate and real. A mattress lay directly on the floor, sheets twisted and damp. The walls showed water damage and the ceiling had cracks that promised to worsen. A small hot plate served as a kitchen, and a plastic tub in the corner appeared to be the bathing area. On the mattress lay a woman who bore Lily's features but looked far older than she likely was. Her face was flushed with fever, her breathing labored. When the door opened, she struggled to sit up. "Lily, where did you—" Her eyes found Matthew, and despite her weakness, fear and suspicion flashed across her face. "Who are you? What are you doing with my daughter?" Lily ran to her mother. "Mom, this is Matthew. He owns the store. I tried to buy a family and he came to help." The woman's confusion was palpable. "Buy a... what?" She attempted to stand, but swayed dangerously. Matthew stepped forward instinctively to steady her. "Ms. Stevens, I'm Matthew Reynolds. Your daughter came to my store. She's worried about you." He helped her back to the mattress. "You need medical attention." "We can't afford doctors," she said flatly, her voice raspy. "Please just go." "Mom?" Lily pleaded. "He's nice. He might stay and not leave like Dad did." The woman's eyes closed briefly in embarrassment. "Lily, that's not how things work." Matthew pulled out his phone again. "I have a friend who's a doctor. He makes house calls." He stepped away to make the call, speaking quietly but urgently. When he returned, the woman was looking at him with a complex mixture of desperation and pride. "I can't pay you back," she said. "I'm not asking you to," Matthew replied. "I'm Matthew Reynolds," he repeated, extending his hand. She hesitated before taking it weakly. "Sarah Stevens." The doctor arrived 30 minutes later, bringing antibiotics, fluids, and a grim diagnosis: severe pneumonia, exacerbated by malnutrition and exhaustion. Left untreated much longer, it could have become life-threatening. As the doctor worked, Matthew took Lily to a nearby convenience store. They returned with food, clean water, bedding, and basic toiletries. The girl skipped beside him, clutching a small stuffed bear he'd added to their purchases without comment. "Are you going to stay?" Lily asked as they climbed the stairs again. "Just for a little while?" Matthew looked down at her hopeful face and thought of his empty penthouse apartment, the meetings where people discussed profit margins as if they were the only things that mattered, the endless emails demanding his attention. "Yes," he said, "for a little while." When they returned to the apartment, Sarah was sitting up, looking marginally better after receiving medication and fluids. Her eyes tracked Matthew as he arranged the supplies he'd brought. "Why are you doing this?" she asked when Lily was occupied with her new toy. Matthew paused, realizing he didn't have a practiced answer. In his world of business decisions and strategic planning, this impulsive act of humanity stood alone. "Because your daughter believes families can be bought," he finally said. "And I want to show her that while that's not true, help can sometimes come from unexpected places." Sarah studied him, her fever-bright eyes searching for hidden motives. "People like you don't usually cross paths with people like us." "Maybe." "That's the problem," Matthew replied, surprising himself with his own answer. His phone buzzed again, Alexandra undoubtedly furious. The board meeting had started without him. For the first time in 20 years, Matthew Reynolds had failed to appear where he was expected. And for the first time in just as long, he found he didn't care. 3 days passed with Matthew, establishing a routine that would have been unimaginable the week before. Each morning, He arrived at the Stevens apartment with breakfast and fresh medications. He'd arranged for a cleaning service to make the small space habitable and hired a nurse to check on Sarah during the day. In the evenings, he would return with dinner, often staying to help Lily with the homework assignments her teacher had sent while she was absent from school. On the fourth morning, Matthew stood in his penthouse closet, selecting a casual sweater, instead of his usual tailored suit. His reflection in the mirror showed subtle changes, his expression softer, the perpetual furrow between his brows less pronounced. His phone chimed with Alexandra's ringtone for the 20th time since yesterday. With a sigh, he finally answered. "Matt, have you lost your mind?" Alexandra's voice was sharp with concern. "You've missed 2 board meetings, cancelled the investor dinner, and no one has seen you at headquarters. I've been running interference, but people are talking." "I needed some personal time," he replied, knowing how uncharacteristic that sounded. "Personal time? You haven't taken a day off in 5 years." There was a pause. "This is about that little girl, isn't it? The one from the store?" Matthew wasn't surprised Alexandra knew. News traveled fast in their corporate circle, especially unusual news. "Her name is Lily," he said. "Her mother has pneumonia. They needed help, so write a check to a charity. That's what normal CEOs do. They don't disappear into the city's poorest neighborhood to play savior." Matthew's jaw tightened. "I'm not playing anything, Alex. I'm helping 2 human beings who have nothing. And you have a company with 5,000 employees who depend on you making sound decisions. The board is questioning your judgment. There are rumors about your mental health. I'll be at tomorrow's meeting," he conceded. "But right now I need to go. Matt." He ended the call, slipping the phone into his pocket. Alexandra's concerns weren't unreasonable. They were exactly what he would have said to anyone else in his position. Yet they felt hollow compared to the reality of Sarah and Lily's situation. When he arrived at the apartment, he found Sarah sitting up, color returning to her face. The antibiotics were working. Lily was curled beside her, reading aloud from a tattered library book. "Matthew!" Lily jumped up, running to him. Over the past few days, her initial shyness had dissolved, replaced by a growing attachment that both warmed and terrified him. "Good morning," he smiled, setting down a bag of groceries. "How are you feeling today, Sarah?" "Better," she admitted. "The nurse says the fever's gone. I might be able to look for work next week." Matthew frowned. "You need at least 2 weeks of rest. The doctor was clear about that." "We can't live on charity forever," Sarah said quietly when Lily had gone to wash her hands. "You've been incredibly kind, but you have your own life. I need to get back on my feet." Matthew began unpacking the groceries, arranging them in the small refrigerator he'd purchased. "What kind of work did you do before?" "Anything I could find. Cleaning houses, late-night shifts at convenience stores, data entry when I could." "Get it. I was taking online courses in medical billing before I got sick." He nodded, processing this information. Sarah Stevens was not looking for a handout. She wanted stability, a chance to support herself and her daughter. "I may know of some opportunities," he said carefully. "But that's for later. Right now, recovering is your job." Lily returned, proudly showing him her clean hands. "Can we go to the park today? Mom says she feels good enough to sit outside." Matthew glanced at Sarah, who nodded. "Just for a little while. I need fresh air." The small neighborhood park was nothing like the manicured green spaces near Matthew's penthouse. The equipment was outdated, the paint chipped, but children played with the same enthusiasm. Matthew helped Sarah to a bench while Lily raced toward the swings. "Push me," she called, and Matthew found himself obliging, his hands remembering. A motion he hadn't performed since his nieces were small. Sarah watched them, her expression complicated. "She's never had anyone to do that before," she said when he returned to sit beside her. "Her father left when she was 2. He wasn't reliable." "What happened?" Matthew asked, then added, "If you don't mind me asking." Sarah's hands twisted in her lap. Eric wasn't ready to be a father. He had dreams of being a musician. When those didn't work out, he turned to drinking, after a bad night. She hesitated. He took off. Sends the occasional text, usually when he needs money. Matthew nodded, watching Lily pump her legs on the swing, her face bright with joy. "She's an incredible kid." "She is," Sarah agreed, pride evident. "She's had to grow up too fast, though. No child should have to worry about taking care of their parent." They sat in companionable silence watching Lily play. Several times Matthew caught Sarah studying him, curiosity in her gaze. "Why did you really help us?" she finally asked. "You could have called social services, given her money for food, or just walked away. Most people would have." Matthew considered the question seriously. "I've spent 20 years building a business empire. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, awards on my office walls and my name on buildings. But when your daughter looked up at me with that quarter, asking to buy something I had never even thought about needing." He paused. "I realized I'd been measuring success all wrong." Sarah's eyes held his, searching for insincerity but finding none. "Most rich men having a midlife crisis buy sports cars," she said with a hint of humor. Matthew laughed, the sound surprising them both. "I already have 3 in my garage. They didn't help." When they returned to the apartment, Matthew's phone rang again. This time it was his assistant, reminding him of an emergency executive. Committee meeting called specifically to discuss his absence. He couldn't postpone it any longer. "I have to go," he told Sarah and Lily. "Work emergency." Lily's face fell. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Before he could answer, Sarah intervened. "Lily, Matthew has his own life. We can't expect him to visit us every day." "But I will," Matthew said firmly, surprising himself. "I'll be back tomorrow evening. Maybe we can all have dinner together." Lily beamed, but Sarah's expression was more reserved. "You don't have to promise things just to make her happy." "I'm not," he replied. "I want to come back." The Cascade Fresh headquarters occupied the top 10 floors of a gleaming downtown high-rise. Matthew felt strangely disconnected as he rode the elevator to the executive suite, surrounded by glass steel and employees who moved respectfully out of his path. The boardroom fell silent as he entered. 8 faces turned toward him, his executive team, the people who had helped him build his empire. Alexandra sat at his right hand, her expression a careful neutral. "Matt," William Porter, the CFO, spoke first. "Good to see you. We were concerned." "I apologize for my absence," Matthew said, taking his seat at the head of the table. "It was unexpected. We've heard some interesting reports," said James Harrington, head of legal, "about your activities this week." Matthew met each of their gazes. These were smart, successful people who had known him for years. They expected rational explanations, strategic thinking, not emotional impulses. "I've been helping a family in need," he said simply. "Her single mother and her daughter, who are facing difficult circumstances." "While that's commendable," Alexandra interjected, "your absence has created uncertainty. The Thompson merger negotiations stalled because you weren't available to sign off on the final terms. The Seattle Times has been calling for a statement about rumors of health issues." "And Whole Range Foods called," added William. "They're considering a counteroffer to our expansion proposal. They wanted to speak with you directly." Matthew absorbed this information, feeling the weight of responsibilities he'd temporarily set aside. "I understand your concerns. I should have delegated more clearly." "This isn't about delegation," Alexandra leaned forward. "It's about priorities. Matt, you built this company from nothing. Are you really willing to risk it all for some charity case?" The phrase struck Matthew like a physical blow. In the sterile conference room, with its panoramic views and expensive furnishings, Sarah and Lily seemed to exist in another universe, one his colleagues couldn't see or understand. "They're not a charity case, Alex. They're people. A mother, trying her best to raise her daughter in impossible circumstances. A little girl who believes family is something you can purchase if you save enough money." Uncomfortable silence filled the room. These were people who donated generously to causes, who attended fundraisers in formal wear, but who kept actual suffering at a comfortable distance. "No one is questioning your compassion," James said carefully, "but there are appropriate channels for this kind of assistance. The Reynolds Foundation could easily—" "I don't want to help them through a foundation," Matthew interrupted. "I want to help them directly." Alexandra exchanged glances with the others. Matt, I think you need to consider taking some time off. Officially. The stress of the expansion has clearly been affecting you. Matthew felt a flash of anger, quickly, suppressed. I'm perfectly fine. I'll be more available going forward, but I'm not abandoning them. The meeting continued with updates he half heard, his mind repeatedly drifting to the small apartment, where, for the first time in years, he felt he was doing something that genuinely mattered. As the meeting concluded, Alexandra followed him to his office. Matt, as your friend, not your COO, what's really going on? Is this some kind of crisis? Are you sick? Matthew stopped, turning to face her. Have you ever wondered if we've been chasing the wrong things, Alex? If all of this, he gestured to the gleaming office, is just a distraction from what actually matters? Alexandra's expression softened. This isn't like you. Maybe it should be, he replied quietly. Maybe it's who I was supposed to be all along. 2 weeks into his unexpected involvement with the Stevens family, Matthew found himself living a double life. During business hours, he maintained his role as the focused, decisive CEO of Cascade Fresh Markets. Evenings and weekends belonged to Sarah and Lily, filled with simple pleasures he'd forgotten existed. Home-cooked meals, board games, and bedtime stories. Sarah's health improved steadily. The hollow look in her cheeks gave way to a healthier glow, and her quiet dignity impressed Matthew more each day. She never asked for anything beyond the initial help he'd offered, often attempting to decline what she considered excessive generosity. You've done more than enough, she told him one evening as he assembled a new desk he'd brought for Lily's schoolwork. We're not your responsibility. Maybe I want to help, Matthew replied, tightening a screw. Is that so hard to believe? Sarah leaned against the wall, studying him. Men like you don't usually spend their free time in places like this. There's usually an agenda. The implied question hung between them. Matthew set down the screwdriver and met her gaze directly. I spent 20 years building a company that sells organic produce to people who can afford to pay 3 times the normal price, he said. I have more money than I can spend, a penthouse I barely see, and no one waiting for me at home. Since I met you and Lily, I've felt purposeful. If my help isn't welcome, I'll stop, but there's no agenda beyond that. Sarah's skepticism softened. It's welcome, she admitted, especially for Lily. She's attached to you. This was an understatement. Lily had blossomed in the past weeks, her natural exuberance no longer constrained by worry. She followed Matthew around like a shadow when he visited, showing him artwork, asking endless questions about everything from clouds to computers. She had taken to calling him Mr. Matt, a compromise between formality and affection that tugged at his heart. The feeling is mutual, Matthew said, resuming his work on the desk. She's a remarkable child. She asked me yesterday if you were going to be her new daddy, Sarah said quietly. Matthew's hands stilled. What did you tell her? That relationships are complicated, that you're a kind man helping us through a difficult time. She hesitated, that we shouldn't expect you to stay forever. The word struck Matthew with unexpected force. The thought of withdrawing from their lives now seemed impossible, yet he understood Sarah's caution. People like him did come and go from lives like hers, well-meaning but temporary fixtures, who eventually returned to their privileged spheres. I'm not going anywhere, he said with conviction he hadn't known he possessed. That weekend, Matthew took them to the Seattle Aquarium. Lily pressed her face against the glass of the octopus tank, squealing with delight when the creature unfurled its tentacles. Sarah stayed close to Matthew, their shoulders occasionally brushing in the crowded space. I've lived in Seattle my whole life and never been here, she confessed as they watched tropical fish dart through coral displays. Me neither, Matthew admitted. Not since a school field trip anyway. They stopped for lunch at a seaside cafe. As Lily happily devoured her grilled cheese sandwich, Matthew's phone buzzed with a news alert. He opened it reflexively, then froze. The headline read, Cascade, Fresh CEO's mystery absences, health crisis or hidden family. Below was a grainy photo taken that very morning, Matthew helping Lily out of his car outside the aquarium, Sarah visible in the background. Sarah noticed his expression. "What's wrong?" He hesitated, then passed her the phone. Her face paled as she read. "They're calling me your secret girlfriend, and Lily your possible child," she said, her voice tight. "There's speculation about whether you've been hiding. Lasts for years." Matthew took the phone back, scanning the rest of the article. "It's tabloid nonsense. I'll have my PR team handle it." "Will they? Or will they want you to handle us?" Sarah's voice was sharp with worry. "This could hurt your business, your reputation. I don't care about that." "You should. It's your life's work." She glanced at Lily, who was obliviously coloring on her children's menu. "And we can't be the reason it suffers." Matthew reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "Sarah, look at me. My company will be fine. This will blow over." But when he returned to headquarters on Monday, it was clear the situation had escalated. Alexandra intercepted him before he reached his office, pulling him into a conference room where James Harrington and William Porter waited. "The board wants an emergency meeting," Alexandra said without preamble. "The Thompson deal is wavering. They're concerned about leadership stability." "Because of one tabloid article?" Matthew asked incredulously. James slid a tablet across the table. "It's more than one now. Your friendship with Ms. Stevens has become quite the topic, especially given her background." Matthew stiffened. "Her background? We had to run a basic check," James explained, his tone professionally detached. "It's standard procedure when the CEO is potentially being compromised." "Compromised?" Matthew repeated, anger rising. "She's a single mother who got sick. What exactly do you think is happening here?" William cleared his throat. "There are concerns about her ex-partner. Eric Stevens has a record. Misdemeanor theft, public intoxication, failure to pay child support. If he's back in the picture, it could create complications." Matthew's hands clenched into fists under the table. "He's not in the picture, and even if he tried to be, it wouldn't be your concern." "It becomes our concern when stock drops 3 points on rumors that our CEO is having a breakdown," Alexandra said bluntly. "Matt, you've changed. You're distracted, unavailable. The board is questioning your judgment." "Because I'm helping." "Someone? Because I'm showing basic human decency?" "Because you're risking everything we've built for people you barely know," Alexandra countered. "The Matt Reynolds I've known for 20 years would never let personal feelings interfere with business." The words hit their mark. Matthew had prided himself on that very quality, the ability to make rational decisions uncluttered by sentiment. It had made him successful, respected, wealthy. It had also left him profoundly alone. "Maybe that Matt Reynolds was wrong," he said quietly. The emergency board meeting that afternoon was tense. Matthew sat through presentations about market perception, brand value, and shareholder confidence, all the metrics that had once been his primary concern. Gerald Thompson, the chairman, spoke last. "Matthew, no one is questioning your right to a personal life, but the nature of this one situation has created uncertainty. The company needs stability, clear leadership. The board suggests you take a step back, a sabbatical perhaps. Alexandra can step in as interim CEO until things settle." Matthew surveyed the faces around him, concerned, uncomfortable, determined. These were people who respected him, who had followed his vision for years. Their worry wasn't unfounded from a business perspective. "I appreciate your concern," he said carefully, "but I won't be taking a sabbatical. I've never been more clear about my priorities, and I believe that clarity will benefit Cascade Fresh, not harm it." "And what exactly are those priorities now?" Thompson asked. Matthew considered his answer. "To build something that matters, something more meaningful than market share." The meeting ended without resolution, the tension unbroken. As Matthew gathered his papers, Alexandra lingered. "They're going to force a vote if you don't compromise," she warned. "You could lose everything." "Or I could gain something more important," he replied. That evening, Matthew arrived at Sarah and Lily's apartment to find Sarah agitated. She paced the small space, a letter clutched in her hand. "Eric contacted me," she said without preamble. "He saw the news articles. He's threatening to come back, to assert his parental rights if—" She broke off, her voice cracking. If what? Matthew prompted gently. If I don't give him money. She thrust the letter toward him. He says he deserves compensation for allowing his daughter to be around you. He's calling it image rights, like she's some kind of property. Matthew read the crude demands, disgust rising in him. Where's Lily? At a neighbor's apartment. I didn't want her to see me upset. Sarah sank onto the edge of the bed. I knew this would happen. People like us don't get to just step into a better life. There's always a price. Matthew sat beside her, the worn mattress dipping under their combined weight. Sarah, look at me. Eric has no power here. He abandoned his responsibilities. Any court would see that. Courts cost money, she said bitterly. Lawyers cost money. And even if we win, the publicity would be a nightmare for you. Your board already wants you gone because of us. Let me worry about my board, Matthew said firmly. As for Eric, I have very good lawyers. If he wants to try this route, he'll regret it. Sarah stared at him, vulnerability and fierce protection warring in her expression. Why are you doing all this, really? The question hung between them, demanding honesty. Matthew took her hands in his, surprised at how natural the gesture felt. Because for the first time in years, I feel alive, he admitted. Because Lily showed me with one quarter what truly matters. Because you face every day with more courage than I've shown in my entire privileged life. He paused. And because I think I'm falling in love with both of you. The words surprised him as much as they did her. Sarah's eyes widened, a complex mix of emotions playing across her face. Hope, fear, disbelief. You can't know that yet, she whispered. You've known us for weeks, not years. Sometimes weeks are enough, he said simply. Sarah didn't pull away, but neither did she move closer. This isn't a fairy tale, Matthew. I'm not a princess in disguise. I'm a woman who struggled her whole life, who has baggage and scars, and a child who depends on me making good decisions. I know exactly who you are, Matthew replied. That's why I'm here. When Lily returned, bubbling with stories about her playdate, the tension between them eased. They ate dinner together, watched a movie on the small tablet Matthew had brought, and maintained the comfortable routine they'd established. But something had shifted, a truth spoken that couldn't be unacknowledged. Later, as Matthew prepared to leave, Lily hugged him fiercely. Night, Mr. Matt, see you tomorrow? Absolutely, he promised, ruffling her hair. Sarah walked him to the door. I need time, she said quietly, to think about what you said. Matthew nodded. Take all the time you need. I meant every word, but I don't expect anything in return. I'm here either way. As he drove home through the rain-slicked streets of Seattle, his phone rang. It was Alexandra. Thompson called an emergency vote, she said without greeting. Tomorrow morning. If you don't agree to a temporary leave of absence, they're moving to replace you. Matthew watched the city lights blur through the raindrops on his windshield. The empire he'd built, the achievement that had defined his life, hung in the balance. Yet all he could think about was Lily's trusting embrace and Sarah's cautious hope. Then I guess tomorrow will be interesting, he said, and ended the call. Matthew arrived at Cascade Fresh headquarters an hour before the emergency board meeting. The early morning light cast long shadows across his office as he methodically gathered personal items. Family photos, a vintage compass that had belonged to his grandfather, awards that marked his journey from ambitious entrepreneur to successful CEO. 20 years of his life contained in a single cardboard box. Alexandra found him there, stopping short in the doorway. You're packing? It wasn't a question. Just being prepared, Matthew replied, wrapping a crystal award in tissue paper. You don't have to lose everything, she said, stepping into the office. The board respects you. They just want time for this situation to resolve itself. Matthew looked up at her. Alexandra Reed had been his right hand for 15 years, brilliant and dedicated. They'd weathered recessions, expansions, and competitors together. Her concern was genuine. What if it doesn't resolve itself, Alex? What if this isn't a phase or a crisis, but a genuine change in my priorities? She leaned against his desk, arms crossed. Then build it into your life properly. Set boundaries. Create a foundation to help families like theirs. Don't throw away everything you've worked for. I've been thinking about what I've actually worked for, Matthew said, sitting in his chair for what might be the last time. I wanted to create something meaningful, to leave a mark. But the mark I've left is just profit. More expensive grocery stores for people who already have plenty. That's not fair, Alexandra protested. We've created thousands of jobs, supported local farmers, donated millions to food banks. From a safe distance, Matthew interrupted. Writing checks from this tower while real people struggle a few miles away. He shook his head. I'm not condemning what we've built, Alex. I'm just questioning whether it's enough. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Eric showed up at our apartment making threats. Lily and I are okay, but scared, don't know what to do. Matthew stood abruptly. I have to go. The meeting starts in 30 minutes, Alexandra reminded him. Then they'll have to vote without me. Alexandra stepped in front of him. Matt, if you walk out now, there's no coming back. You know that, right? Everything you've built is worth nothing if I can't use it to help the people who matter, he finished, moving past her. Tell the board whatever you want. This is more important. He drove through morning traffic with a sense of urgency that had nothing to do with business, metrics, or quarterly reports. The fear in Sarah's text was palpable, and the thought of Eric Stevens threatening her and Lily made his jaw clench. When he arrived at their apartment building, he found Sarah and Lily in the hallway outside their unit. Lily clutched her stuffed bear, eyes wide and frightened. Sarah stood protectively in front of her, relief washing over her face when she saw Matthew. He just showed up, she explained as Matthew approached. Started pounding on the door, demanding to see Lily, saying he had rights, he was obviously drunk. Mrs. Patel across the hall threatened to call the police and he finally left, but she shuddered. He said he'd be back. Matthew crouched to Lily's level. Are you okay, sweetheart? She nodded solemnly. He was yelling bad words. Mom says we can't go back inside until she's sure he's gone. Matthew straightened, making a decision. Pack whatever you need for a few days. You're coming to my place until we sort this out. Sarah started to protest, but Matthew cut her off gently. Sarah, you both need somewhere safe. My building has security. It's just temporary, I promise. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. They gathered essential belongings, clothes, Lily's school books, medications, and loaded them into Matthew's. As they drove away, Matthew noticed Sarah repeatedly glancing back as though expecting to see Eric following them. He won't find you, Matthew assured her. And if he tries, he'll have to get through building security, my lawyers and me. Sarah's phone rang as they neared downtown. She stared at the screen, her face paling. It's him. Put it on speaker, Matthew suggested. Eric's voice filled the car, slurred and hostile. Where are you? I know you're with that rich guy. I saw the pictures. You think you can cut me out? She's my kid too. You gave up that claim years ago, Sarah replied, her voice steadier than her expression. You haven't seen her in 5 years. Eric, you haven't paid a dime in support. That's gonna change now, Eric sneered. Your boyfriend's loaded. Either you start sharing or I'm taking you to court. I bet the tabloids would love to hear what I know about you. Lily shrank into her seat, and Matthew saw tears forming in her eyes. That's enough, he said loudly enough for Eric to hear. Mr. Stevens, this is Matthew Reynolds. Any further communication should go through my attorney. I'll have them contact you. You with details. Who the hell do you think you are? Eric demanded. You can't just buy my family. The irony of his words, so contrary to Lily's innocent attempt to buy a family herself, wasn't lost on Matthew. No one's buying anything, but harassment and threats are criminal offenses. Think carefully about your next move. He reached over and ended the call. Sarah exhaled shakily, turning to check on Lily. It's okay, sweetheart, she soothed. Dad's just having a bad day. He's not my dad, Lily said with surprising firmness. Dads are supposed to help and love you, like Mr. Matt does. Matthew felt a rush of emotion at her words, meeting Sarah's eyes briefly in silent acknowledgement of their weight. His penthouse occupied the top floor of a luxury high-rise with sweeping views of Elliott Bay. As they entered, Matthew was suddenly conscious of the stark contrasts. The minimalist furnishings that had cost more than most people's homes. The emptiness that spoke of a place to sleep rather than a home to live in. "Wow," Lily breathed, pressing her face against the floor-to-ceiling windows. The boats looked like toys. Sarah stood awkwardly in the entryway, clutching their bags. "This is a lot." "It's just a place," Matthew said, taking the bags from her. "Let me show you where you can stay." He led them to the guest rooms, spaces that had never actually hosted guests. Sarah disappeared into one with their bags while Lily continued to explore, her natural curiosity temporarily eclipsing her fear. Matthew's phone buzzed incessantly with notifications. The board meeting would be over by now. He turned the device off without checking the messages, unwilling to let corporate politics intrude on this moment. That evening, they ordered pizza, a novelty for Matthew, who typically dined at high-end restaurants or skipped meals entirely when working late. They ate at the kitchen island, Lily chattering about the ships she could see in the harbor, the tension of the morning gradually fading. After Lily went to bed in the guest room, Sarah joined Matthew on the balcony. The Seattle skyline glittered, before them a tapestry of lights against the night sky. "You missed your meeting," she said quietly. "Yes. For us." Matthew turned to face her. "I made a choice, the right one." Sarah hugged herself against the cool evening air. "What will happen to your company?" Probably exactly what Alexandra predicted. "They'll vote me out temporarily at first, then permanently when I refuse to change course." He smiled slightly. "It's just business." "How can you be so calm about it? That company is your life's work." "Was," Matthew corrected gently. "I'm finding that other things matter more now." Sarah studied him in the dim light. "You really meant what you said yesterday, about falling in love with us." "I did." She moved closer, her shoulder brushing his as they both looked out at the city. "I don't want to be responsible for you losing everything. You're not responsible for my choices, Sarah, and I'm not." "Losing everything, I'm gaining perspective." He paused. "What about you? How do you feel about all this?" Sarah was quiet for so long that Matthew thought she might not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Terrified, hopeful, confused, she turned to face him fully. "I haven't trusted anyone in a very long time, Matthew, especially not men who seem too good to be true. But you keep showing up. You keep choosing us, even when it costs you. And I'm starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, this impossible thing could be real." Matthew took her hand, his heart racing. "It is real. I can't explain it either, how a chance encounter with a little girl holding a quarter could change everything, but it has." Sarah moved closer, and for the first time, she initiated contact, leaning her head against his shoulder. They stood, together in comfortable silence, watching the lights of ferries crossing the dark water. The next morning, Matthew awoke to his doorbell ringing insistently. He found Alexandra in the hallway, holding a newspaper and looking grave. "I tried calling," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "You need to see this." She stopped short at the sight of Lily sitting at the kitchen counter, in pajamas, eating cereal and drawing. Sarah emerged from the guest room, freezing when she saw Alexandra. "I didn't realize you had company," Alexandra said stiffly. "Alexandra Reed, this is Sarah Stevens and her daughter Lily," Matthew introduced them. "Sarah, Lily, this is Alexandra, my colleague." "Chief Operating Officer," Alexandra corrected, her professional smile not reaching her eyes. "Matthew, can we speak privately?" In his home office, Alexandra handed him the newspaper. The headline read, "Custody battle looms for Cascade Fresh CEO as ex-con father claims rights." Beneath it was a photo of Eric Stevens leaving a bar, alongside older pictures of Matthew, Sarah, and Lily at the aquarium. "He went to the press," Matthew said grimly. "Claiming you stole his family," Alexandra confirmed. "He's painting himself as a father wrongfully separated from his child by a predatory billionaire." That's ridiculous. He abandoned them years ago. Perception matters more than facts in cases like this, Alexandra said. The board voted Matt effective. Immediately, you're on administrative leave. I've been named interim CEO. Matthew absorbed this news with surprising calm. Congratulations. Don't do that. I didn't want this, not like this. Alexandra's professional veneer cracked slightly. Come back to the company. Distance yourself from this situation until it's resolved. We can rebuild your reputation, but you have to act now. Matthew shook his head. I can't do that, Alex. Sarah and Lily need me, especially now. They need your money and influence, Alexandra corrected sharply. Are you sure that's not what this has been about all along? A vulnerable woman and a cute kid? It's the perfect setup. Matthew stared at her, anger flaring. That's not fair. You don't know them. Neither do you, not really. You've known them for what? A month? And you're throwing away everything for them? She shook her head in disbelief. The Matt Reynolds I know doesn't make emotional decisions. Maybe it's time you got to know the real Matt Reynolds, he replied quietly, the one who's finally figuring out what matters. Alexandra's expression hardened. The board is giving you 72 hours to reconsider. After that, the administrative leave becomes permanent removal. After she left, Matthew returned to the kitchen where Sarah was helping Lily with a drawing. She looked up, her expression troubled. I heard some of that, I'm sorry. Don't be, Matthew assured her. This isn't your fault. But it is about us, Sarah insisted. Your colleague thinks we're using you, and now Eric is making things even worse. Matthew sat beside them at the counter. Alexandra is worried about the company. That's her job. He looked at the colorful drawing Lily was creating, a picture of 3 stick figures holding hands in front of what appeared to be his penthouse building. What matters is right here. Sarah touched his arm. What are you going to do about the board? Matthew covered her hand with his own. Let them make their decision. Some things are worth more than a corner office. As they sat together, the morning light streaming through the windows, Matthew realized he felt more peace in this moment of professional crisis than he had in years of corporate success. Whatever came next, he would face it with the 2 people who had unexpectedly become the center of his world. The legal notice arrived 3 days later, a formal petition for custody and visitation rights filed by Eric Stevens, accompanied by a demand for child support, arrears, and compensation for emotional distress. Matthew's attorney, Diane Holbrook, reviewed the documents in his penthouse, while Sarah paced anxiously, and Lily was at her first day back at school, accompanied by a security guard Matthew had hired. This is mostly posturing, Diane concluded, setting down the papers. Mr. Stevens has no legitimate claim to custody, given his history of abandonment and lack of financial support. However, she adjusted her glasses, he's clearly being coached by someone who knows how to manipulate the system. Meaning? Sarah asked. Meaning he's hitting all the right emotional notes for the media, the estranged father seeking redemption, the wealthy outsider disrupting a family unit, the struggling musician who just needs a second chance. Diane's expression was sympathetic but frank. Courts decide based on law, but public opinion operates on emotion. And right now, public opinion is a factor we need to consider. Matthew leaned forward. What's our best approach? Transparency and action, Diane replied without hesitation. We file a counter-petition immediately seeking to formally terminate Eric's parental rights based on abandonment. We request a restraining order based on his threatening behavior. And she looked at Sarah. We consider whether legal adoption might be appropriate. Sarah's eyes widened. Adoption. If Matthew were to legally adopt Lily, with your consent and after Eric's rights are terminated, it would create a much stronger legal foundation for your situation, Diane explained. Of course, that's a personal decision that goes beyond legal strategy. The room fell silent as the weight of this possibility settled between them. Matthew watched Sarah's face carefully, seeing the complex emotions playing across her features. I'll give you both some time to discuss this, Diane said, gathering her documents. In the meantime, I'll prepare the restraining order petition and our response to Eric's filing. After she left, Sarah sank onto the sofa, her expression troubled. Adoption. That's permanent. Matthew sat beside her, careful to maintain a respectful distance. It would only be an option if you wanted it, Sarah. If we both wanted it. Lily would be thrilled, Sarah said softly. She already thinks of you as her father in all but name. She looked up at him, vulnerability in her eyes. But what about you? A month ago, you were a carefree billionaire. Now you're considering legally binding yourself to a child. That's a lifetime commitment, Matthew. I know exactly what it means, he replied, and I've never been more certain of anything. Sarah studied him, searching for any hint of hesitation. You've lost your company because of us. What if you wake up one day and resent that? Resent us? Matthew took her hands in his. Sarah, my company was just a thing I built. It can be rebuilt, or I can build something else. But what we have here, what the three of us are becoming, that's irreplaceable. He squeezed her hands gently. I'm not asking for anything from you that you're not ready to give. But please, don't doubt my commitment to Lily, or to you. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text. She checked it, her expression darkening. It's from Eric again. He wants to meet, just him and me. Says we can work something out, without lawyers. She showed Matthew the message, which carried a thinly veiled threat about things he could tell the press if she refused. You shouldn't go alone, Matthew said immediately. I know, but maybe I should meet him somewhere public, find out what he really wants. She looked troubled. He wasn't always like this, Matthew. Before the drinking, before everything fell apart, he was just lost, weak, but not malicious. People change, Matthew reminded her gently, and not always for the better. I know that better than most. She was quiet for a moment. But I also know that Eric is still Lily's biological father, whether we like it or not. If there's any chance of resolving this without a drawn-out court battle that could hurt her. Matthew understood her reasoning, even as concern gnawed at him. If you decide to meet him, I'm coming with you. He specifically said just me. Then I'll wait nearby, out of sight, but close enough if you need me. They arranged to meet. Eric the following afternoon at a coffee shop downtown. Matthew waited in his car across the street, watching as Sarah entered the cafe. Through the window he could see Eric already waiting, thinner than in his photos, with the hollow-cheeked look of someone who had lived hard. Even from a distance, Matthew could see the nervous energy in his movements as he spotted Sarah. Inside the cafe, Sarah slid into the booth opposite Eric, maintaining a careful distance. You look good, Sarah, Eric said, his attempt at charm undermined by the slight tremor in his hands. Really good. What do you want, Eric? Sarah asked directly. These threats, the legal filing showing up at our apartment, what's the endgame here? Eric leaned forward. I want what's fair. I made mistakes, sure, but she's still my daughter. This rich guy thinks he can just step in and play daddy? Buy my family with his millions? The irony of his choice of words, so similar to Lily's innocent request to buy a family, wasn't lost on Sarah. You gave up the right to call us your family 5 years ago when you walked out. Lily barely remembers. You. I can change that, Eric insisted. I'm different now. I've been getting my act together. Sarah looked pointedly at his trembling hands. Have you? Eric's facade cracked slightly. I'm trying, okay? But it's hard out there. No one gives guys like me a second chance. His expression hardened. Not unless they have something people want. And what do you have that people want? The inside story on Seattle's billionaire and his instant family, Eric replied, dropping all pretense. The tabloids are offering serious cash for exclusive interviews, pictures, details about our relationship. But I'd rather work directly with Reynolds, cut out the middleman. Sarah felt a wave of disgust. So this isn't about Lily at all. It's about money. It's about what I deserve, Eric countered. I could make things very difficult for both of you. His voice softened to what once might have passed for charming. I could sign away my parental rights, disappear. Let you have your fairy tale ending with Prince Charming. For the right price. Outside, Matthew watched the interaction with growing tension. He couldn't hear their words, but Sarah's body language told him enough. the rigid posture, the way she leaned away from Eric, the clear distress in her expression. When Eric reached across the table to grab her wrist, Matthew was out of the car immediately. By the time he entered the cafe, Sarah had pulled free and stood up. Eric's face flushed with anger as he spotted Matthew. "Here he is, the hero," Eric sneered. "Right on cue." "We're done here," Sarah said firmly. "Any further communication goes through our attorneys." Eric's gaze shifted between them, calculating. "Our attorneys? So it's already is it? You moved on fast." "You left us with nothing," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite her evident distress. "Lily needed someone to depend on, so did I. And Mr. Moneybags here was happy to step in." Eric stood, facing Matthew directly. "Tell me, Reynolds, does it make you feel good to play savior? To buy yourself a ready-made family instead of building your own?" Matthew remained calm. "I didn't buy anything, Mr. Stevens. I simply recognized what you were too blind to value." "Very poetic," Eric scoffed. "But we both know what this is. You saw a pretty struggling single mom and her cute kid and thought, perfect project for a midlife crisis. How long before you get bored and move on to the next charity case?" Before Matthew could respond, Sarah stepped between them. "That's enough, Eric. You don't know him and you barely know me anymore. Whatever we had ended years ago." "It's not over until I say it's over," Eric hissed, but his bravado was crumbling. "I have rights. Rights you abandoned," Sarah reminded him, "along with your responsibilities." The cafe had gone quiet, other patrons watching the confrontation unfold. Eric, suddenly aware of the audience, straightened his jacket. "We'll see what the court says," he said, attempting to salvage his dignity. "This isn't finished." As he pushed past them toward the exit, he muttered to Matthew, "Enjoy playing daddy while it lasts. She'll bleed you dry and move on. That's her pattern." Once Eric had gone, Sarah sank back into the booth, visibly shaken. Matthew sat beside her, careful to give her space. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded, taking a steadying breath. "He's just trying to get under our skin. He was always good at finding weak spots." "What did he want?" "Money, that's all this has ever been about." She looked up at Matthew. "He offered to sign away his rights for the right price, threatened to sell stories to the tabloids if we don't pay." Matthew absorbed this information. "That's extortion." "It's Eric," Sarah said with a weary familiarity. "He always looks for the easy way out, the path of least resistance." She hesitated. "Maybe we should just pay him. Give him what he wants to make him go away permanently." "If we do that, he'll never stop coming back for more," Matthew pointed out. "And it sends Lily the wrong message, that problems can be solved by throwing money at them." He covered her hand with his. "We can fight this the right way, Sarah. I promise you that." When they returned to the penthouse, they found Lily with her after-school sitter, working on a colorful art project at the kitchen island. Her face lit up when she saw them. "Mr. Matt, Mom, look what I made!" She held up a drawing of 3 stick figures standing in front of a house. "It's us in our forever home." Sarah exchanged a glance with Matthew before turning a smile to her daughter. "It's beautiful, honey. Why don't you tell us about it while we get dinner started?" As Lily chattered about her artwork and her day at school, Matthew watched the two of them, Sarah's gentle responses, Lily's animated expressions, the natural rhythm of their interaction. The sight filled him with a certainty that had been growing since that first day in his store. This was what mattered. This was worth fighting for. Later that evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Matthew received a call from William Porter, his CFO. "Matt, we need to talk," William said without preamble. "The board meeting today was intense. They're moving to make Alexandra's appointment permanent." Matthew had expected this, but the finality still stung. "I understand." "There's more," William continued. "They're considering a broader restructuring. Alexandra has proposed selling off the specialty stores division, your original locations, the ones with the community programs." This news hit harder. The original Cascade Fresh stores had been Matthew's first vision. Neighborhood markets that offered healthy food at reasonable prices, with programs for local schools and food-insecure families. The high-end stores had come later, funding the community initiatives he truly cared about. "She can't do that," Matthew said. Those stores are the heart of what we built. They're not profitable enough by current metrics, William replied, the regret evident in his voice. Alex is positioning this as necessary streamlining. The board is receptive. After the call ended, Matthew found Sarah on the balcony, gazing out at the city lights. "Bad news?" she asked, reading his expression. "Corporate politics," he said, joining her at the railing. "Nothing that can't be handled." Sarah studied him. "You don't have to protect me from the realities of your situation, Matthew. I know what you're sacrificing." Matthew considered his response carefully. "The board is moving to replace me permanently, and they're planning to dismantle the parts of the company I care about most, the community stores that started it all." "No, you stop them." "Possibly. I'm still the largest shareholder." He looked out at the city skyline, the view that had once represented everything he'd achieved. "But fighting that battle means dividing my attention when you and Lily need me most." Sarah turned to face him fully. "This company mattered to you, still matters to you. I can see it in your eyes." "Yes," he admitted, "not for the profit or the prestige, but for what it was meant to be. A way to make healthy food accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. The vision got diluted over time, but those original stores still fulfill that purpose." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I don't want to be the reason you lose something that important." "You're not," Matthew assured her. "If anything, you and Lily have reminded me why I started Cascade Fresh in the first place. To make a difference, to build something meaningful." He took her hand. "Whatever happens with the company, I don't regret a single choice I've made since Lily walked into my store with that quarter." Sarah's eyes glistened in the dim light. "I told Eric today that Lily needed someone to depend on. So did I." She moved closer. "I'm beginning to believe that person might be you." As the city lights twinkled below them, Sarah closed the distance between them. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, the beginning of something neither had expected to find, yet both now realized they needed desperately. When they parted, Sarah whispered, "I'm still scared, Matthew, of Eric, of the future, of trusting this feeling." "I know," he replied, touching her cheek gently, "but we'll face it together, all three of us." Inside the penthouse, neither noticed Lily watching from the hallway, a small smile on her face as she clutched her quarter, the one Matthew had returned to her, promising it was magic because it had brought them all together. The week before the custody hearing unfolded in a whirlwind of legal preparations and emotional upheaval. Diane Holbrook worked tirelessly, gathering evidence of Eric's abandonment, his history of unpaid child support, and his recent threatening behavior. Meanwhile, Matthew fought a parallel battle for his company, working late into the night on a proposal to save the community stores division from Alexandra's restructuring plan. Sarah watched him with growing concern as he juggled these responsibilities, often finding him at his desk at dawn, coffee cold beside him, spreadsheets and legal documents spread across the surface. "You can't keep this up," she told him one morning, placing a fresh cup of coffee by his hand. "You need to rest." Matthew looked up, dark circles under his eyes. "I'm fine. The hearing is in 6 days, and the shareholder vote is the day after. Everything has to be perfect." Sarah sat on the edge of the desk. "Matthew, you're fighting 2 major battles simultaneously. It's too much for anyone." "I can handle it," he insisted, though his exhaustion was evident. "I know you can. That's not the point." She touched his hand gently. "You don't have to prove anything to us, Lily, and I don't need you to be superhuman." Matthew's shoulders slumped slightly. "I can't fail at this, Sarah, either of it. The stores matter. They provide affordable food to neighborhoods that would otherwise be food deserts, and you and Lily..." He trailed off, emotion tightening his throat. "We're not going anywhere," Sarah assured him, "no matter what happens with Eric or the company." The conviction in her voice gave Matthew pause. He studied her face, seeing a certainty there that had been absent in the early days of their relationship. "When did you decide that?" he asked quietly. Sarah smiled softly. "I think I've been deciding it little by little every day since you showed up at our apartment with groceries and medicine. But saying it out loud," she squeezed his hand, "it feels right." That evening, Matthew made a point of setting work aside early. He helped Lily with her science project, a model of the solar system made from painted styrofoam balls, while Sarah prepared dinner. The domestic scene was so natural, so comfortable, that it was easy to forget the challenges looming before them. As they ate, Lily peppered Matthew with questions about his childhood, a topic she found endlessly fascinating. "Did you have to share a room like I did at our old apartment?" she asked between bites of pasta. "I did," Matthew replied. "I shared with my brother until I was 12. We fought all the time about who got which side." "You never talk about your family," Sarah observed. "Are they still in Seattle?" Matthew's expression grew distant. "My parents moved to Arizona after retirement. My brother lives in Chicago. We're not close." "How come?" Lily asked with a child's directness. Matthew considered how to answer. "Sometimes when people take different paths in life, they drift apart. My family expected me to join my father's accounting firm. When I started Cascade Fresh instead, there was tension. It never really resolved." "Do they know about us?" Sarah asked carefully. "Not yet," Matthew admitted. "I should call them, but with everything happening." "They're missing out," Lily declared with absolute confidence. "You're the best almost dad ever." The phrase "almost dad" hung in the air, highlighting the tenuous nature of their situation. Until Eric's parental claims were resolved, until legal protections were in place, they existed in a hopeful but uncertain limbo. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, Matthew received an unexpected visitor. The concierge called to announce that Alexandra Reed was in the lobby, insisting on seeing him. When she stepped off the elevator, Alexandra looked uncharacteristically hesitant. "I needed to talk to you in person," she said, glancing around the penthouse. "Is this a bad time?" "Sarah and Lily are asleep," Matthew replied. "We can talk in my office." Once seated, Alexandra came straight to the point. "The board has seen your counter-proposal for the community stores. It's compelling." Matthew waited, knowing there was more. "But they're not convinced it's financially viable in the long term," she continued. "They want proof that your judgment isn't being clouded by sentimentality. Those stores were never meant to be profit centers, Alex. They're about community service, about fulfilling the original mission of Cascade Fresh." Alexandra leaned forward. "I know that, Matt. I was there when you opened the first one, remember? But the board sees them as liabilities in the current market." "So why are you here?" She hesitated. "Because despite everything, you're still my friend. And I think there might be a compromise." She pulled out a folder. "I've been working on an alternative, a separate non-profit entity that would take over the community stores, funded partially by Cascade Fresh profits, but operating independently. You could head it, stay connected to the company, while focusing on the mission that matters to you." Matthew took the folder, surprised. "You developed this yourself?" "Someone had to find a middle path," Alexandra replied. "The board is voting tomorrow. If you present this plan in person, I think they might accept it." She paused. "It would mean stepping back from the CEO role permanently, but you'd preserve what matters most to you." Matthew studied the proposal, recognizing the elegant solution it offered. "Why are you helping me, Alex, after everything that's happened?" Alexandra's professional facade softened slightly. "Because 20 years of friendship shouldn't end over a business disagreement. And because," she hesitated, "I've been watching you these past weeks. How you've fought for those stores for Sarah and Lily. It's reminded me why I joined Cascade Fresh in the first place, because you had vision beyond profit margins." She stood to leave. "The meeting is at 10 tomorrow, your choice if you come." At the door she turned back. "For what it's worth, I hope things work out with the custody situation. Lily seems like a special kid." After Alexandra left, Matthew found Sarah standing in the hallway. "How much did you hear?" he asked. "Enough," she replied. "She's offering you a way to save what matters to you at the company, at the cost of my leadership role." Sarah approached him. "Is that role what really matters to you, or is it the work itself?" Matthew considered this question. For years, his identity had been inseparable from his position as founder and CEO. The thought of stepping back had seemed like failure. But now, with different priorities reshaping his perspective, he saw the situation with new clarity. The work, he admitted. It's always been about the work. The next morning, Matthew dressed in a suit for the first time in weeks. As he adjusted, his tie, Sarah, appeared in the doorway of their bedroom, and it was their bedroom now, a transition that had happened naturally as their relationship deepened. "You look like a CEO again," she observed. "Just for today," he replied, turning to face her. "I've decided to accept Alexandra's compromise. The community stores will be preserved, and I'll have a meaningful role, but without the burden of running the entire company." Sarah stepped forward to straighten his already perfect tie. "Are you sure that's what you want?" "It's the right solution," Matthew said confidently. "It frees me to focus on what truly matters." He took her hands in his, "including the custody hearing next week." Sarah's expression grew serious. "Diane called this morning while you were in the shower. Eric has hired a new attorney, someone known for aggressive tactics in high-profile cases. They're planning to paint you as a wealthy predator who targeted a vulnerable family for, I don't know, some kind of social experiment." Matthew had expected something like this, but the concrete reality still stung. "Do you believe I had ulterior motives, even for a moment?" "Never," Sarah replied without hesitation. "Not since that first day when you followed a strange child through the worst neighborhood in Seattle just to help her sick mother." Her eyes held his. "No one does that with an agenda, Matthew. They do it because it's who they are." Heartened by her faith, Matthew headed to Cascade Fresh headquarters with renewed determination. The board meeting was tense but productive. His presentation of Alexandra's compromise plan, enhanced with his own additions, was met with cautious approval. By the end of the session, a framework had been established for the Cascade Fresh Community Initiative, an independent non-profit with Matthew as its director, dedicated to food accessibility in underserved neighborhoods. As the meeting concluded, several board members approached to express their support, including Gerald Thompson. "This is good work, Matthew," the chairman said, shaking his hand. "Different from what we expected, but perhaps better for everyone involved. Sometimes personal changes lead to professional innovation." The implied acknowledgement of Matthew's transformed priorities wasn't lost on him. "Thank you, Gerald, for being open to a new approach." Alexandra walked him to the elevator. "So, director of the community initiative, how does it feel?" "Like the right fit," Matthew admitted. "You did good work here, Alex. I won't forget it." She nodded. "Professional. As always, but with a hint of their old camaraderie. Good luck next week with the hearing." When Matthew returned to the penthouse, he found Sarah and Lily baking cookies in the kitchen, flour dusting the countertops and Lily's cheeks. The domestic scene, so far removed from boardrooms and corporate strategies, filled him with certainty that he'd made the right choice. "We're celebrating," Lily announced, holding up a misshapen chocolate chip cookie. "Mom said you did something brave today." Matthew raised an eyebrow at Sarah, who shrugged. "Choosing a new path is always brave," she explained. That night, after Lily was asleep, they sat on the balcony, the city lights creating a backdrop to their conversation. "Are you really okay with giving up the CEO position?" Sarah asked, curled, beside him on the outdoor sofa. "More than okay," Matthew assured her. "For years I thought that title defined me. Now I realize it was just limiting me." He drew her closer. "The company will continue. The community stores will thrive, and I'll have time for what really matters." Sarah rested her head on his shoulder. "The hearing is in 5 days." "I know. Diane says we have a strong case." "Eric won't give up easily," Sarah warned. "He's always been stubborn, especially when his pride is involved." "So are we," Matthew replied, kissing the top of her head. "Together." The days leading up to the hearing passed in a blur of preparation. Diane coached them on what to expect, while Matthew ensured Lily understood as much as a child her age could about the proceedings. "Will I have to see my old dad?" she asked the night before the hearing, her small face serious as Matthew tucked her into bed. Yes, sweetheart, but only in the courtroom, and Mom and I will be right there with you. Lily nodded solemnly. I'm not scared of him anymore, not like before. No? What changed? She smiled, her innocence cutting through the tension that had pervaded their preparations. Because now I have you, and Mum is happy again. We're a real family now, not a broken one. Matthew felt his throat tighten with emotion. Yes, we are. The morning of the hearing dawned clear and bright, at odds with the gravity of the day ahead. They dressed carefully. Lily in her best dress, Sarah in a borrowed suit from a friend, Matthew in his most conservative attire. They looked, he realized, like a family going to church rather than a courthouse. As they prepared to leave, Lily suddenly darted back to her room. She returned, clutching something small and shiny. My quarter, she explained, holding it up. It's for luck, and to remind the judge that families are the most important thing you can buy. Sarah knelt to her level. Sweetheart, remember what Matthew told you. Families aren't really bought. They're chosen, Lily finished confidently. I know, but the quarter helped us find each other, so it's special. Matthew exchanged a glance with Sarah over Lily's head, both touched by her innocent yet profound understanding. In her child's wisdom, Lily had distilled the essence of their journey together, a chance encounter that had become a deliberate choice to build something lasting. As they drove to the courthouse, Matthew reached for Sarah's hand, finding it cold with tension. Whatever happens today, he said quietly, we face it together. As a family. She nodded, drawing strength from his certainty. As a family. The family court building loomed before them, its stone facade imposing and institutional. As they approached the entrance, Matthew spotted Eric and his attorney waiting on the steps. Eric's appearance had been carefully crafted for the occasion, clean-shaven, wearing a borrowed suit that didn't quite fit. His expression a practiced mask of paternal concern. When he saw them approaching, Eric's facade slipped momentarily, revealing the calculation beneath. His eyes fixed on Lily, then moved to Sarah and Matthew with undisguised resentment. Remember, Diane murmured beside them, no direct engagement. Let the process work. They filed past Eric without acknowledgement, but Matthew felt Lily's hand tighten in his. He squeezed back gently, a silent promise of protection. Inside, they took their places in the courtroom, the weight of the moment settling over them. As the judge entered and the proceedings began, Matthew found himself focusing not on the legal arguments or the stack of evidence Diane had prepared, but on the small family beside him. Sarah's quiet strength, Lily's innocent courage, and the unbreakable bond that had formed between the three of them. Whatever the court decided today, he knew with absolute certainty that they had already found what Lily had sought that rainy day in his store, a family not purchased but chosen, built on love rather than obligation. The courtroom's formal atmosphere felt stifling as Judge Eleanor Martinez reviewed the case files before her. Matthew sat beside Sarah, both of them watching Lily, who had been called to speak privately with the judge in her chambers. Despite Diane's assurances that this was standard procedure in custody cases involving children, the separation was agonizing. She'll be fine, Diane whispered, noticing their tension. Judge Martinez has an excellent reputation with children. She'll make Lily feel comfortable. Across the aisle, Eric fidgeted in his ill-fitting suit, whispering urgently to his attorney. The man, Jackson Reed, known for representing wealthy clients in acrimonious divorces, had spent the morning portraying Matthew as a manipulative billionaire who had exploited a vulnerable family for his own purposes. Mr. Reynolds has no experience as a parent, Reed had argued. He's a businessman who saw a business opportunity, a ready-made family to rehabilitate his public image during a professional crisis. The allegations stung, but Matthew had remained composed, trusting in the evidence they had presented. Documentation of Eric's abandonment, records of unpaid child support, affidavits from teachers and neighbors attesting to Sarah's devoted parenting and Lily's recent flourishing, and testimony about Eric's threatening behavior. Now, as they waited for Lily to return, Sarah reached for Matthew's hand. "What if she's scared?" she whispered. What if the judge misinterprets something she says? Lily knows her own mind, Matthew reminded her gently. She always has. The door to the judge's chambers opened, and Lily emerged, her expression serious but calm. The court-appointed child advocate who had accompanied her gave a reassuring nod as Lily returned to her seat between Sarah and Matthew. "You did great, sweetheart," Sarah murmured, smoothing Lily's hair. "I told the truth," Lily replied simply, her small hand finding Matthew's. Judge Martinez returned to the bench, her expression carefully neutral as she surveyed the courtroom. "Having reviewed all evidence and spoken with the minor child, I'm prepared to deliver my ruling." She adjusted her glasses. "These cases are never simple, especially when they involve questions of parental rights and the best interests of a child." Matthew felt Sarah tense beside him. He squeezed her hand, offering silent support. "Mr. Stevens," the judge continued, turning to Eric, "you have petitioned this court for restoration of custody rights to your biological daughter. However, the evidence clearly indicates a pattern of abandonment spanning 5 years, during which you made no meaningful attempt to maintain a relationship with Lily or provide financial support." Eric shifted uncomfortably, a muscle twitching in his jaw. "Your recent interest appears to coincide not with a genuine desire to parent, but with the public attention surrounding Mr. Reynolds' involvement with your former family. This timing raises significant concerns about your motivations." The judge turned to Sarah. "Mrs. Stevens, the court recognizes your consistent dedication to your daughter's well-being under difficult circumstances. Your commitment to providing stability despite considerable challenges is commendable." Finally, she addressed Matthew. "Mr. Reynolds, while your involvement with this family is relatively recent, the evidence suggests it has been consistently positive and constructive. The minor child speaks of you with obvious affection and trust, and your actions demonstrate a genuine commitment to her welfare." Judge Martinez folded her hands before her. "Based on all evidence presented, and with primary consideration for Lily's best interests, this court rules as follows. Mr. Stevens's petition for custody rights is denied. Furthermore, given the documented abandonment and recent concerning behavior, the court grants the counter-petition to formally terminate Mr. Stevens' parental rights." A small gasp escaped Sarah. Matthew remained still, hardly daring to believe what they were hearing. "Mrs. Stevens will retain full legal and physical custody of Lily," the judge continued. "The restraining order against Mr. Stevens is granted for a period of 1 year, during which he must maintain a distance of at least 500 feet from the child, Ms. Stevens, and their residence." Eric stood abruptly. "This is bullshit." His attorney yanked him back down, whispering furiously. The judge fixed Eric with a stern gaze. "Mr. Stevens, I strongly advise you to accept this ruling with dignity. Any outbursts or violations of the restraining order will be dealt with severely." She turned back to Sarah and Matthew. "Regarding the matter of potential adoption, the court views this positively given the circumstances, but requires the standard 6-month waiting period following termination of parental rights before such proceedings can begin." With a final tap of her gavel, Judge Martinez concluded the hearing. Court is adjourned. The aftermath was a blur of congratulations from Diane, paperwork to sign, and Lily's excited questions about what everything meant. Eric stormed out without looking back, his attorney hurrying after him with a briefcase tucked under his arm. Outside, the courthouse standing in the bright Seattle sunshine, the reality began to sink in. Sarah turned to Matthew, tears glistening in her eyes. "It's over," she whispered. "Really over." Matthew pulled her into an embrace, Lily squeezing between them to join the hug. "Not over," he corrected gently. "Just beginning." That evening they celebrated with pizza and ice cream at the penthouse, the relief and joy palpable, as Lily danced around the living room, free from the shadow that had hung over them for weeks. When she finally went to bed, exhausted but happy, Sarah and Matthew sat on the balcony, glasses of wine in hand. 6 months, Sarah mused, looking out at the city lights. Then you could legally adopt her. "If that's what you both want," Matthew replied carefully. Sarah turned to him, her expression suddenly serious. There's something I've been thinking about. Something I need to ask you. Matthew set down his glass, giving her his full attention. Anything. All of this, the hearing, the adoption discussion, it's been about your legal relationship with Lily. But what about us? What are we to each other, Matthew? The question hung between them, loaded with meaning. Matthew took her hands in his. Sarah Stevens, from the moment your daughter walked into my store with a quarter and an impossible request, my life changed in ways I never could have imagined. I thought I had everything I needed, success, wealth, achievement, but I had nothing that truly mattered. He moved closer. These past months with you and Lily have shown me what real happiness feels like, what family means. Sarah's eyes never left his face, searching, questioning. Are you saying? I'm saying I love you, both of you. And if you'll have me, I want to spend the rest of my life as part of this family we've created. He reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small velvet box. I've been carrying this for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Sarah's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. I don't want to adopt just Lily, Matthew continued softly. I want us to be a family in every sense. Sarah Stevens, will you marry me? Tears spilled onto Sarah's cheeks as she nodded, words momentarily beyond her. When she finally spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. Yes, of course, yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, a small voice came from the doorway. Does this mean Mr. Matt will be my real dad now? They turned to find Lily watching them, clutching her stuffed bear, her expression hopeful. Sarah opened her arms, and Lily ran to join them on the balcony. Yes, sweetheart, if that's what you want. I've wanted it since forever, Lily declared, with a child's certainty. Since the day I tried to buy a family with my quarter. Matthew pulled her onto his lap. You know, Lily, that quarter of yours really was magic. It didn't buy a family. It found one. Lily beamed, snuggling between them. I knew it was special. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of happy changes. Matthew's work with the Cascade Fresh Community Initiative flourished, bringing affordable, healthy food to neighborhoods throughout Seattle. Sarah completed her medical billing certification and began working part-time for a healthcare network that allowed her to work mainly from home. They moved from the penthouse to a warm, spacious home in a family-friendly neighborhood, where Lily quickly made friends and thrived at her new school. The adoption proceedings went smoothly, culminating in a joyful day at the courthouse, where Lily officially became Lily Stevens Reynolds. 2 weeks later, they held a small, intimate wedding in the backyard of their new home, with Lily proudly serving as both flower girl and ring bearer. Alexandra attended, bringing a peace offering in the form of a partnership proposal between Cascade Fresh and the Community Initiative that would expand their reach even further. Even Gerald Thompson made an appearance, charmed despite himself by Lily's exuberant welcome. On a bright Saturday morning in early fall, Matthew found himself making one more significant journey. He drove to the original Cascade Fresh Market, the store where it all began, with a special purpose in mind. The store manager, Carl, greeted him warmly. Everything's ready in your old office, Mr. Reynolds, just as you requested. Matthew thanked him and made his way to the back of the store, where Sarah and Lily waited. Lily bounced with excitement, holding a small package wrapped in simple brown paper. Is it time yet? She asked eagerly. Almost, Matthew smiled, unlocking the door to what had once been his office. The space had been transformed, the utilitarian. Desk replaced with a comfortable couch, the walls repainted in warm colors, and a small plaque beside the door that read, The Lily Stevens Reynolds Family Resource Center. It's perfect, Sarah breathed, taking in the transformation. The office where Matthew had once focused exclusively on profit margins and expansion plans would now serve as a hub for family support services, counseling, resources for single parents, assistance with healthcare navigation, and food security programs. One finishing touch, Matthew said, nodding to Lily. With ceremonial solemnity, Lily unwrapped her package, revealing a simple frame containing her quarter, the very one she had offered that rainy day, now preserved behind glass. Beneath it, an engraved plate read, "Family isn't bought, it's chosen. We chose each other." As Matthew hung the frame on the wall, he felt a sense of completion. The journey that had begun with a child's innocent request had transformed not just his life, but the lives of everyone it touched. "What do you think?" he asked, stepping back to admire the display. "It's the most important quarter in the whole world," Lily declared with absolute conviction. Sarah slipped her arm around Matthew's waist. "She's right, you know. Some people spend their entire lives chasing wealth, never realizing that the most valuable things can't be purchased." Matthew pulled both of them close, overwhelmed with gratitude for the family he'd found. "The irony is that I had to become a billionaire to learn that lesson from a little girl with a single coin." They stood together, the three of them, looking at the framed quarter that symbolized their unlikely journey. No photographers captured the moment, no social media would share it, no business publications would analyze its impact. It was a private celebration of the most valuable acquisition Matthew Reynolds had ever made, one that had cost him nothing financially, but had given him everything that mattered. "Ready to open the center?" Sarah asked after a moment. Matthew nodded, his heart full. "Ready." As they turned to greet the families already gathering outside, people drawn by the promise of support and community, Matthew caught Lily slipping her hand into his, a gesture that had become as natural as breathing. "You know what, Dad?" she said. The title still new enough to send a wave of joy through him whenever she used it. "I think my quarter was the best money anyone ever spent." Looking at his family and the new purpose they had built together, Matthew couldn't have agreed more.